This poor illiterate kid had a dream of creating the most iconic and luxurious sports cars in the world. Despite having no formal education and facing numerous challenges and obstacles, he persevered and turned his vision into a reality. Today, his company is known worldwide for its high-performance vehicles and is considered a symbol of luxury and success. We're talking about none other than Enzo Ferrari, the man who created one of the most iconic and luxurious sports car brands in the world. Despite starting out as a poor and illiterate kid, Ferrari's vision, determination, and passion for automobiles led him to create a company that's now synonymous with speed, power, and success. In today's video, we're going to talk about the poor illiterate kid who created Ferrari. So without further delay, let's get into it. Early life. Ferrari's interest in cars was sparked at a young age, and he began his racing career in 1919 as a test driver for the National Mechanical Constructions Company in Milan. He quickly made a name for himself as a skilled driver, and in 1923 joined the Alfa Romeo racing team. During his lifetime with Alfa Romeo, Ferrari began to develop his own racing team, known as the Scuderia Ferrari, which eventually became the official racing division for the automaker. In 1939, Ferrari left Alfa Romeo to start his own company, Auto Avio Costruzioni, which initially focused on building grinding machines. After World War II, Ferrari returned to his passion for racing and in 1947 produced his first official Ferrari, the 125S. From there, the company went on to achieve numerous victories and championships, solidifying its place as a top player in the racing industry. Despite these successes, Ferrari faced numerous personal challenges, including the death of his son and the loss of several team members. Despite these setbacks, he continued to lead his company and is remembered as one of the most successful and influential figures in the automotive industry. Racing career. After the failure of his family's carpentry business, Enzo Ferrari searched for work in the automotive industry. He initially tried to volunteer at Fiat in Turin, but ended up accepting a job as a test driver for CMN, a Milan-based company that converted used truck bodies into small passenger cars. Ferrari eventually became a race car driver and made his competitive debut at a hill climb race in 1919, finishing fourth in his division. He joined the racing department at Alfa Romeo as a driver in 1920 and won his first Grand Prix in 1923. In 1924, he had his most successful season, with 3 wins, including the Coppa Acerbo and the Mille Miglia. However, the deaths of several drivers, including Ugo Savocci and Antonio Ascari, deeply affected Ferrari, and he continued racing half-heartedly. After the birth of his son Alfredo, also known as Dino, in 1932, Ferrari retired from competitive racing and focused on managing and developing the factory Alfa race cars. He formed a successful racing team known as the Scuderia Ferrari, and in 1929 it acted as a racing division for Alfa Romeo. The team included well-known drivers like Giuseppe Campati and Tazio Nuvarali. It was successful due to the high-quality cars and skilled drivers. The prancing horse emblem, originally created and used by Italian fighter pilot Francesco Baracca, began appearing on Ferrari's team cars during this time. In memory of Baracca's death in World War I, Ferrari adopted the emblem and it eventually became the iconic Ferrari shield, first seen on Ferrari in 1947. Building Ferrari. Alfa Romeo originally partnered with Ferrari's racing team until 1933, but due to financial issues, they withdrew their support. However, this decision was later reversed thanks to the intervention of Pirelli. Despite the talent of the drivers on Ferrari's team, they struggled to compete with Auto Union and Mercedes. While these German manufacturers dominated the racing scene at the time, Ferrari's team did achieve a notable victory in 1935 when Tazio Nuvarali beat Rudolf Caraccioli and Bernd Rosemeyer at the German Grand Prix. In 1937, Scuderia Ferrari was dissolved, and Ferrari returned to Alfa's racing team, known as Alfa Corse. Alfa Romeo decided to regain control of its racing division and retained Ferrari as sporting director. After a disagreement with Alfa's managing director, Ugo Gabato, Ferrari left in 1939 and founded Auto Avio Costruzioni, a company that supplied parts to other racing teams. Despite a contract clause that prohibited him from racing or designing cars for 4 years, Ferrari managed to create 2 cars for the 1940 Mille Miglia, which were driven by Alberto Ascari and Lotario Rangoni. With the outbreak of World War II, Ferrari's factory was forced to produce war materials for Mussolini's fascist government. After the war, Ferrari decided to start making cars under his own name and founded Ferrari SPA in 1947. Enzo Ferrari decided to compete with Alfa Romeo and establish his own racing team. The team made its open-wheel debut in Turin in 1948 and achieved its first win later that year at Lago di Garda. The team's first major victory came at the 1949 24-Hour of Le Mans, with a Ferrari 166mm driven by Luigi Chinetti and Peter Mitchell-Thompson. In 1950, Ferrari participated in the newly established Drivers' World Championship and has remained a constant presence in the sport ever since. Ferrari won its first World Championship Grand Prix with José Furlong González at Silverstone in 1951. The team's first championship came in 1952 with Alberto Ascari, and they repeated this feat the following year. In 1953, Ferrari made its only attempt at the Indianapolis 500. To finance his racing endeavors in Formula One and other events such as the Mille Miglia and Le Mans, Ferrari started selling sports cars. The company's involvement in the Mille Miglia brought them new victories and increased public recognition. However, increasing speeds, poor roads, and a lack of crowd protection ultimately led to a disaster for both the race and Ferrari. During the 1957 Mille Miglia, a Ferrari 335S driven by Alfonso Di Portago crashed into the roadside crowd after a tire blowout, killing Di Portago, his co-driver, and 9 spectators, 5 of whom were children. As a result, Enzo Ferrari and Engelbert, the tire manufacturer, were charged with manslaughter in a lengthy criminal prosecution that was ultimately dismissed in 1961. Dissatisfied with the way motorsports were covered in the Italian press, Ferrari supported the launch of a new publication, Autosprint, in 1961. He also contributed to the magazine for a few years. Many of Ferrari's greatest victories came at Le Mans, where they won 9 times, including 6 consecutive victories from 1960 to 1965, and in Formula One during the 1950s and 60s, with the success of drivers like Juan Manuel Fangio, 1956, Mike Hawthorne, 1958, and Phil Hill, 1961. Personal and company turmoil. Although Ferrari achieved great success in the racing industry in the 1950s, he faced significant personal challenges during this time. The biggest blow was the death of his son, Dino, from muscular dystrophy in 1956, which had a significant impact on him. In 1961, Ferrari experienced the Palace Revolt, where several top engineers and executives left the company, reportedly due to a dispute involving his wife. In 1963, he seriously considered merging with the Ford Motor Company, but ultimately decided against it due to concerns about losing control. In 1969, financial issues prompted him to sell a 50% stake in the company to Fiat. Later years, death, and legacy. Although he formally resigned as president of his company in 1977, Ferrari still had control of the business. After the death of his wife in 1978, he admitted to having another son, Piero, with his wife Lina Lardi in 1945. He received an honorary degree in physics from the University of Modena before passing away on August 14, 1988, in Maranello due to kidney disease. Throughout his lifetime, Ferrari's cars won over 4,000 races and claimed 13 world championships. In 1944, he was inducted into the International Motorsports Hall of Fame in recognition of his accomplishments. So there you have it. If you enjoyed today's content, make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new videos. Until next time.